Come on in. All right. Welcome, welcome. Can you hear me? Yes, thumbs up. Yeah, okay. I am so excited to be with you guys. This conversation that we're having today is a powerful one. And it's so interesting. As soon as I start to create a conversation, a masterclass or an idea or an intention, I get to experience it. So interesting enough, I came up with this concept of cycle breaking, pattern breaking, generational cycle breaking. And sure enough, I get to have some experiences, but right before the class occurs. So the last couple of weeks, it comes to, I think it's just a matter of I set the intention not only for myself and others, but it starts to show itself and rise to the surface and bubble up. So I am so excited to have you guys here and to be in this energy of finally breaking the cycles and the patterns that are hijacking your momentum to where you really want to go and to who you really want to be. And I call myself a pretty good pattern catcher. I connect dots pretty quickly for my clients and those that I serve, and I've come to practice that in my own life. And some patterns serve me well, and I keep those. And then there's other patterns that I really don't want anymore. And I'm assuming, oops, I'm hitting my desk, assuming that you guys can probably relate to that as well, is that some of those patterns that continue to surface and bubble up and show itself is either moving you closer to where you want to be, or it's taking you away. And a lot of them, a lot of times, are unconscious, right? We don't even know that they're there, or the circumstances that we see in our life are so distinctively different, right? Like a pattern might be in relationship, and then there might be something going on in money, and then there might be something going on in health, and we think they're separate, right? And so what's fascinating is to watch how sometimes they're actually a part of the same pattern or cycle. And when we start to bring them together and then look at and zoom out and start to look at our life as a more of a holistic approach and a comprehensive view, then it's really fascinating to see how all the dominoes are in fact falling. And that's kind of the visual that I have of a pattern. We insert the pattern somewhere very early on, if not previous life or generationally or what have you. And then it just, we just shove the first one in, and then the dominoes continue to fall. And so imagine those dominoes falling. What does it have? Right? They keep falling, falling, falling. Well, it has momentum, right? And those patterns, the dominoes, the circumstances, the evidence, I call it a repetitive evidence, has to show up in order for the pattern to exist. Right? Patterns exist because there's something repeating. And with that repetition, with that evidence continuing to accumulate and build upon itself, it has built up momentum. And what we're going to do today, and in the 2 days that we are spending time together, we are going to disrupt that momentum. We're going to turn that momentum around, right? That's the idea. And so I'm just really thrilled to kind of play with this. I love to be more in a workshop environment. I want to work with you. I want to, help you actually break through some of the patterns that you're experiencing, or the undesirable situations that are continuing to show up, and move you as much as I can closer and closer to the things that you actually desire. And so I've come up with a originally, which this is totally me. I had 4 steps, right, to pattern shifting formula. And then this morning, a 5th one woke up. so we actually have 5 steps we're going to move through to actually shift the patterns in our life. And I always like to put it in a little bubble, right? And create a little beautiful package. And so we've got 5 steps that we're going to move through between today and tomorrow. So please put in the chat where you're calling in from. Some of you are here live, and which is fantastic. Some of you are going to hear this on a replay. Some of you might be on Facebook. I am live streaming it to my personal Facebook page. And then we'll put it up on YouTube and also in my personal app, which is called Brave You. I want this to reach as many people as possible whenever it's meant for you. And so even if you are here, whether you're live or on a replay, I believe the energy is still just as potent. It is received when you are ready to receive it, right? The message is still valid. And so Terry, oh my gosh, so good to see you. Really great. Yes, you're my friend from Houston. That's amazing. Mesa, yes, Danielle. I'm actually, I have a fun story, right? I'm actually here in Scottsdale temporarily. And and then my friend Leah, right, Iowa. So we've got some people from all over the country, which I think is always fascinating. And what's even more fascinating is I'm becoming that person because I recently went nomadic. And so as I do these master classes, my background changes. So last month I was in Joshua Tree and I had this adorable little 600 square foot house in the middle of nowhere. And it was so cute, so fun, and so refreshing to be in nature at that level. And then I moved myself this month to Scottsdale, Arizona. And you'll just have to watch my Instagram to watch where I go next. I do have a destination. I actually teased you guys on Instagram in my transition between here and my next location for a month. I am gonna go be in nature and like find my connection to source. I call it Gus, God, Universe, Source. And I'm so excited. So you'll have to stay tuned for that too. And if you're in my email community, right, I try to share my updates and my journey. And just to actually anchor the point about this entire class and where it came through me is that I've recently cracked the code on one of my patterns, and it's been years and years and years of living in this pattern, feeling the momentum, keeping it going, and not always knowing that it's there, right? And so last year I recognized one of and it wasn't the beginning of my recognition and acknowledgement of it, but it was where I took some massive action, right, and shifted the pattern. And I think what's beautiful about life is that we get to experience situations and relationships and obviously our realities that we create from a place of ego or essence, and we can look at it through the lens of ego and victim and, oh my gosh, why is this happening to me? Or we can flip it on its head and look through essence and look through a different lens and see it from, what is this teaching me? Where is this moving me towards? And what is the purpose of this pattern? Right. So patterns in themselves are not bad or good or right or wrong. However, they're either moving you back further into alignment, or they're actually either expired, right? That's how I felt. I was like this contract is over, right? It's complete. This pattern is complete. And then it's time to actually disrupt that pattern and move out of it and actually take the steps that you have to take in order to actually dismantle the pattern that you're in. And the one that I came up with a name for it. And the name was the external emotional management pattern. It was also a pattern of taking responsibility for others in a not only a financial way, an emotional way. I mean, maybe physically, meaning like, like doing things for people, that kind of thing. But it was these two entangled patterns, and I definitely took them on in childhood, if not way before. It's not even it's not even necessarily important to know where the origin is. It's just to know that I maintained it and I'm responsible for that maintenance. So, these couple patterns that were really tightly intertwined were very, very, very strong in my life. And they showed up in relationships. They showed up in how I approached my business. They showed up in just my self, actualization. And so a couple years ago, one of them was with a parent, and I just realized how much I take on and it's not my parents' fault, right? There's no blame to anyone else. This is one of the biggest pieces of this process, is to take full radical ownership of, you put the pattern in place, right? No one else did. and when you do that, you actually come back into the power position, your personal power. And so I started to unpack that pattern. I saw it about 4 or 5 years ago, and I was like, wow. And I had all the symptoms of disalignment and feeling anger and all my ego tricks, right? And so hopefully, if you guys took my quiz that was part of the preparation, like when you RSVP for these classes, there's some preparation for the class if you choose. And if not, we'll make sure you have it again. But finding out how your egoic self actually gives you the signals that says, pay attention, you're coming through the lens of ego, not the lens of essence. And so, yes, my ego was flaring up. I was frustrated. I had resentment. I had anger at times, I just wanted to express myself. And I had judgment, and I had what else? I mean, I had one of the ego tricks, I call it position, right? I was very positional, and I had my opinions about the situation. And so all the ego tricks were flaring, and yet I wasn't noticing exactly what the pattern was that was keeping me in place and keeping me in that state. And so I started to take ownership of that pattern and do the things that I needed to do, which we'll talk more about with your patterns, as is like, what do I need to do to actually dismantle this and disrupt and stop the momentum from this continuing? And then I realized that I was also continuing that pattern. And it was a beautiful dance, and I honor my marriage for 22 years, married. And I honor our relationship because it allowed me to dance so beautifully in the patterns, and it taught me so much. Right. And, but as of October, I decided to take that big action and uncouple. And so good news is my ex-husband, is so hard. I have to get used to calling it what it is. But my previous partner, right, 22-year partner, and still co-parent, we have children, was a big lesson in the patterns, including his own, that we were dancing with for so many years. And I came to the point where I realized, we can't do this. They're not breaking, right? The pattern is not disrupting without the separation, without the actual energetic cut, right? And so it's been a beautiful honoring of 22 years of a relationship that served many purposes, including the pattern. But now it was time to change that and to grow on our own and to expand on our own and to go to the next level. And I wish that for him. That'll be up to him, right? Of course, we can't do it for other people, right? And then that is certainly my goal in my own life. So that occurred. And by the way, in the middle of that, I also moved my 18-year-old to Seattle. So not only did I uncouple, I became an empty nester all in the same month. And so, if you get to know me, I like to do things all at once. It was a big month, and no regrets, right? It's been quite amazing. And in that same, or about a month later, I guess, in that same period of time, I also realized a pattern of dependency that ego likes to have around environment, around the safety of similarity and familiarity and predictability and all of the things the ego loves. And one of that was, oh, I'm gonna be safe. I mean, I'm kind of like cracking open my world right now, and I'm gonna be safe, and I'm gonna stay you know, in California, where I'm from, at this point. I'm originally from Texas. That's how I know Terry. So it is this experience of I was gonna sign a lease, right? Go jump into another 1-year commitment. And my whole body went into shutdown. Like I shut down. I was like, it was heavy. It was like, no, 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 we're not doing this. And of course, that's the traditional thing. That's what you're going to go do is you're going to move out and you're going to go find a new place and you're going to settle down. And my body was telling me no. A big piece of pattern recognition is, what is your body telling you, right? What is your body saying? Because that's where the signals are. That's where the truth lives. And if we can pay attention to that and not our mind and our reasoning and our logic and what am I thinking, right? Then we actually start to find ourselves and follow a path that's actually meant for us. And so, sure enough, the other idea was, well, I have just me and my dog and a business that goes anywhere. What shall I do? So I decided to go nomadic, and I am living Airbnbs 1 month at a time. And so that is why I share. It's kind of exciting to go, where am I going next? And I am just following Gus, like what is the guidance? And then kind of just bringing you guys along my journey. But it is also very, very interesting to watch how this experience of being nomadic, and I don't know how you guys feel in your body when I say that, like imagine yourself going on the road and not having a place to call home, like a permanent home, right? And it's like, ooh, what is that? What does that bring up? Well, it brought up fear for me. It brought up uncertainty. It brought up the unknown. It brought up, at the same time, it brought up adventure. It brought up excitement. It brought up, you know, like this childlike play. And I got goosebumps, guys. I just got like massive goosebumps. The tingling is a good sign, right? It's like, yes, right? That was the excitement. And part of breaking pattern is also paying attention to that higher vibration that's going on in your body and going, I'm going to follow that, regardless of my fear and my ego voice that's saying, who are you? What do you think you're doing? Why would you do that? And the fears that come in, like, how can I do that? And how am I going to afford that? What am I, how, you know, all of the things that might get in the way. And then watch the magic unfold. So that is a little bit of an intro to not only me. Some of you are brand new to me. Obviously, I always forget to even introduce because I just feel like you're long lost friends or something. But for anyone absolutely brand new to me, that I am a consciousness alchemist and an emotional scientist, and I mentor people through these phases of life and these, you know, and these the higher elevation that we all desire. And I help you move up the elevator of ascension ultimately. And whether it's pattern breaking or, you know, self-actualization or finding what you really are passionate about, because all you've done is listen to the ego, which is a pattern, right? It is a very comfortable, I keep shaking my desk. It's a very comfortable pattern to follow, is listening to the ego. It's a pattern in itself. It's a comfort zone. So we're going to like crack all that open, break it open, and like, let's shift this around. And my intention is to activate a whole new part of your being and your perspective. And like, let's elevate this level of consciousness that you have right here, right now. And then, and see how far we can take you. So, let me give you a little rundown of what to expect in this masterclass. And again, thank you so much for being here live on Zoom with me, because I do like to get very interactive. And so we are going to play together, ask you questions, and get you to do some work. So I do highly recommend that you have a journal or something that you can use to type your notes or what have you. And, you know, I thought about creating like some type of workbook, but here's the thing. I know you guys can handle it. Just get your own workbook out, right? This is your work and this is your experience. This is your intention and how you want to play these next 2 days. And I'm just here to guide you, right? And so the experience is this. We're going to spend 2 hours today going through part of the formula. and working together and really helping you unpack and uncover some of the patterns that may be hidden from your view. And some of you might be like, oh, I know what mine is, and I really want to break it. Like, I'm ready to break it. So that's cool too. And then tomorrow we're going to come back, same link, same time, same location. And then we'll finish up the formula as well. And at the end of that conversation, I'll share with you some other ways that you can continue with me, and just the containers that I have. Again, that's just available for those that would like a deeper dive. So here's where we're going to begin. First of all, put some ones in the chat. I did enough talking. Put some ones in the chat if you are ready to break some patterns. Like, we are going to be cycle breakers today, all together. So let me see some ones. And while I do that, I'm going to open the waiting room so you guys can just come on in. Yes, 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 yes. I want to break them all. Danielle, absolutely. Let's do it. Okay. All right. And so making sure all of my technology is working. And I'm just going to check here. Hi on Facebook, by the way. I know I'm streaming on Facebook. And so good to see you. Hey, Tracy from Florida. So awesome. All right. So here is step number 1. I want to ask a question of you all, and I just want to give you a few moments to actually think through what this is for you. So here it is. What pattern or cycle in your family generationally, or just a repeating problem, you're like, this happens all the time, I keep seeing this happen, do you see going on in your life? And what do you, and of course, which one do you want to break? Which one do you want to stop? So it can look like, it can be in relationships. It can be in money. Money scarcity is a big pattern out there. I have that one that I'm breaking. Chaos. It can be the pattern of struggle. It can be the pattern of illness. So health, something in your health. It can be an addiction of some sort. And that's a very wide subject, right? It's not just the traditional ones that we think of, but it can be, I work all the time, right? It can be something like that. Or it's just even in something inside of personal ascension and mastery, like your personal development. So let me give you a moment. And then when you have an answer, you can type it in the chat. So I do have that, as well as hopefully someone will play with me. So take a moment to do that. Yes, some of us have so many. Just identify at least 1 or 2 big ones that we want to work on. Thank you, Leah. Yes, that's a good one. All right, so hopefully you've identified one or many, whatever that is. And so now let's look at them a little deeper. First of all, part of the first step, and this is why I'm asking, is the formula of the first step of the formula is to get awareness around it, right? Aware of what it is. Like, can you see the actual patterns? And there might be a few in disguise, which those will surface as you start to put some intention behind I spy pattern, right? I call it I spy. This is the game of I spy. And if you start to put some intention around, I want to experience an awareness around the patterns that are blocking me, right? Then they'll start to come to more of the surface. So this is why we start with step 1, which is let's identify it. And so one of you guys said self-sabotage and fear of success. Another one, addiction to struggle. Yes, got that. Another person, I believe, said addiction to struggle, and I am a mess. So that's another example. And I shared some of mine, right? So it can show itself in many different ways. So I don't want to I'll call somebody out but I'll let you volunteer first. Is there someone on here that would like to actually open up and talk about their pattern? Would you like raise your hand or? Okay, Danielle, yes, please, please.
Yeah. So I
Oh,
actually just put a different one on there too, because I kind of feel like they go together. So I put self-sabotage, fear of success, looking at my family.
yes,
All are super hard workers. And if I just keep working, I'll get there. And it's like, maybe you're working hard on something that's not supposed to be. If you can just accept maybe that needs to go in a different direction, you wouldn't have to work so hard.
yeah,
And that goes towards money, that goes towards relationships, that goes towards a lot of different things. But they have the mentality to put the blinders on it and just keep going, keep working. And sometimes you just need to accept and change directions. And
yes.
so that's something I did with my family.
Got it. So, so I hear a couple perspectives in there. One, so you're seeing your family do this behavior, yes, this patterning.
Mhm.
Your parents, I would assume, or is that what you're
My
speaking to?
grandparents, my
Grandparents?
parents, and I've seen it
Got
in
it.
myself and my siblings. Just
Got it.
keep going, you know?
All of it. Yeah. Okay. So
Mhm.
you're like the workhorse that puts the blinders on, and pushes it forward. Okay, great. And then I hear something behind your words where you actually don't fully believe that anymore.
I've worked really hard on parts of it, but there is now a fear of success. So it's like
Okay.
I want to be successful, but I'm afraid, like I've tied money with
Yes.
being a bad person, or you get riches by being a bad person.
Yes.
So because most of the people that I know with a lot of money are not the greatest people. And so I
Right.
need to
Got it.
release that so that success comes financially and with relationships. And I don't have to just keep working till it gets there.
Yeah.
You know,
Got it. Okay, very good. So, so what's fascinating is when we start to look at our patterns and we see a lot of pattern, we're looking at other people certainly, and then we see ourselves in the same behavior. And then there's this point where either it comes to us or it doesn't, or it's present, but we don't know how to actually break out of it because that's the only example we know of is to watch what our parents do. And then it gets entangled in, what if I don't agree with them anymore? What if I don't belong to that camp anymore? See, your ego will fight for its limitations at all cost. And part of what happens when we start to break patterns is we actually have to let go a lot more than just our own behavior. We have to let go of a lot of belief or the fears that are wrapped around exiting that level of consciousness. So if your parents live, and again, nothing right or wrong, we have our own, and then I've got children. I mean, they're going to look at me and go, "Why is my parent doing that?" You know, and they're going to have to break through their own limitations, right, of whatever their patterns are. And so when we look at other people or parents or generations or what have you, and we see that it just doesn't resonate with us the same way, and then we have to unpack what are all the hooks that we have going on that are keeping me in the pattern with them or like them. Right. So they did the best that they could, right? They just showed up as an example of a perspective. And what's even more fascinating when you take this to another realm is that they just represent an aspect of you. Right. So people in our lives are reflections or projections on our screen of an aspect of us, or they wouldn't show up. And so you've been a patterning of, I have to work really hard to have this, right? It's been a condition. And so when you start stepping away from that condition and going, what if there's another way? What if there's another way? Is there another way? Can I do it a different way? I don't want to do it the same way. All of those things start to occur for you. Then you start to see that the reflection that they're representing no longer looks good in the mirror. It's kind of like, I don't want that reflection. I don't want that to show up in my life. And yet I'm projecting it. I'm still, creating it internally. Everything in our life is a projection of what's going on inside of us. Period. No kidding. I just got a couple texts, and they are literally a projection reflection of my own pattern. I mean, I just looked down. I was like, huh, interesting. Perfect. It's all good. And I get to respond. I get to respond from my old pattern or my new identity. So part of, and the deeper level of this, we're not going to go too deep into this. This may be a whole nother masterclass, is identity shifting, right? So when we have a pattern, the pattern is a part of our current identity. And then when we no longer want to be a part of that pattern, we're stepping into a new identity experience. And that in itself is a whole nother process, right? So when you look at your, let's just, the generational pattern, what part of it does no longer fits for you? What doesn't work anymore? Even though you don't know how, don't worry about the how.
Yeah. I'm just, you don't, like, technology makes it so you don't have to work as hard. You just need to work smarter.
Yes.
But you need to educate yourself for that. But also just, there's always like the fear of success. Like, they were settled with being middle class or, not having money. They were okay with that. I'm not.
we assume that they're okay with
I'm
that.
not.
They didn't break.
Yeah, I want to move into luxury at some point in my life. So
yes.
I want to get there, and I'm ready to remove these blocks so I can get there. I want to experience vacations and being able to buy things and not stress. I would like to do more service for people, and like that all kind of comes with removing those blocks so that I can flow with it instead of being limited by it.
So, okay, very good. So the fear of success pattern, right, that you've created has a condition. It sounds as if it has a condition called, I have to work hard for it. Yes, no? Okay. And so if you decide that I want success without working hard, who do you have to become?
Well, first I have to experience it so that I can.
Say that again. Say it again.
First I need to experience that to like be able to teach that, right?
Okay.
To be the example, first I have to do it, and then I can be the example of how to do it, like for my siblings, for my parents, for other people.
Okay, got it. Are you connected? So, and I'm just continuing to hear behind the words, right? So, are you willing to never be able to help them change their pattern?
Yes.
If you're going to be the only one on the island, you're going to leave.
Have a really nice island. They're going to want it themselves.
Yes, hopefully, right? Hopefully, but some may not, right? Some may not come with you, whether it's your family or friends or community or children or like whoever's around you. What's happening is the inner child is like, if I don't do it their way, I'll be different. I won't belong anymore to that pattern. I'm going to be something separate. And so the ego believes but the ego is the ultimate in separation, right? So it is the epitome of separation. And so it's returning back to who you already are, which is infinite, divine infinity. It's like you have everything you need. You are already success. You are everything, right? That's the pill that we have to swallow and return home to. But in the meantime, we have all these patterns, we have all these conditions, we have those limitations, we have all the separation that keeps us from moving as if we are that, right? So that's kind of the bigger picture. And so the reason I ask, are you willing for them never? Because here's the thing, the willingness is not that they never will. It's the willingness that they may not choose. Like, can you be with that they have 100% choice? And more importantly, because when we start to unhook the requirements and the conditions and the desires of other people doing it with us or doing it like us, or, you know, I see them struggle and suffer and I don't want to do that anymore, but they're going to continue if they don't come with me. They're going to continue to play small and they're going to continue their patterns and whatever that exists for them. And so a lot of times when we're in relationships to others, our patterns are so enmeshed and entangled, and then our inner child doesn't want to allow for that release because it means something about itself, right?
Mhm.
It's like the safety of being in the pattern is the familiar experience of the pattern. Like if you're in the pattern of I have to work hard for money or success, and I don't even know what success looks like, my watch doesn't understand. Excuse me, it starts talking to me. Then when you're hooked into the pattern, then it wants to return to itself, right? It's like it wants to maintain. Remember, the pattern of the domino effect is in momentum. So the momentum is pushing you to maintain the pattern, and we've got to just like literally stop it and step off the treadmill. We've got to just jump off. And so in order to do that, we have to become something other than the pattern.
Mhm.
We have to become something outside of what we are used to or expect of others or expect of ourselves. So first and foremost, you installed this pattern called, right, I have to work really hard to get where I want to go. And you are correct. Even without the technology, here's the truth. We say that the technology is what makes it possible that life can be easier. But to be honest, it is who we are being that makes life hard or easy.
Mhm.
So even before the technology, like great invention, thank you very much, whoever invented that, right? The beingness called it's easy, and I don't have to work that hard to make life happen, exist with or without technology. So the moment you believe that, you meaning any of us, believe that it's something outside of us that's going to make the difference happen, that is still another pattern. We keep giving the power out to something outside of us. So your family, like I get this, right? You know, generationally, my grandparents, you know, it's like farming and depression, you know, they grew up in the depression and in all of the external circumstances, right? But notice how in our world, in our generation, we have our own version of, you know, circumstances. And yet some people thrive regardless of the circumstance. So why? Right? Because it's not the circumstance, it's not the economy, it's not the situation outside of us, it's not the industry we chose, it's how we show up to it. And so you know, when we look at, well, they had to work hard. The moment you say that they had to work hard, we just put the limitation back into the pattern, right? So and it's fine, they chose that pattern, that's okay, right? And so that's what you're trying to break, is that continuing a pattern that believes that you have to work hard. And I love this because trust me, I had a busy pattern. I had a pattern of, if I stay really busy, if I do a whole lot, if I keep going and I keep pushing and the whole hustle thing, and that sucker ended 2018 for me. I was like, oh no, I'm not doing this anymore. And I had a lot of evidence around me that worked. And we still do. We still have it I can find it all in all different areas. Right? So the opportunity is to identify, like you have the awareness, I spy the pattern. Okay, we'll just call it, you know, work really hard for success. Tied to it is fear, which is an ego trick. What's so scary about success for you?
I guess I just haven't really felt successful, so I just don't know what that looks like. But
Okay.
the fear of having to work really hard. So finally saw that was a pattern in my family, because my mom is now, she was OCD, super hard worker. She supported the family, did everything. But now she's dealing with dementia because she worked so hard and didn't take care of herself. And so I see what happens when you don't get that balance, or if you ignore everything to just keep working hard. And I don't want that. So that was my realization. I want to be in a healthier, successful place. My fear is I will end up just like her, and I don't want that.
How's that feel?
Which is, they tie together.
Tie together. Yes.
And I see the difference between my mom and my dad. My dad's so laid back, artist, just so laid back that it's kind of annoying, because I'm like, come on, get a job, like do a little, you know? And then my mom works so hard to overcompensate for him not doing as much. But my dad is chill. He's not stressed out like she is. And she's just so stressed out, losing her mind. Her body's falling apart. Her mind is going. And I'm just, you know.
You're like putting on the brakes, right? The resistance to
yeah,
turning out like her, per se.
Mm-hmm.
So, girl, I can relate.
I'm sure a lot of these scams too. Yeah.
What'd you say?
I'm sure a lot of these ladies feel that way too. It's like, just keep pushing through, keep working hard. We got this. Especially women in business. It's like we're constantly proving ourselves. We can do it, you know.
Yes.
Especially around a lot of guys in the, you know, industries and stuff. But yeah, just my biggest fear is I will be like my mom and not be okay. And success to me is to be in my 70s and be able to be sharp-minded, to be able to go do things physically, to spend time with grandkids. But I also don't want to worry about money. I just want to be able to give them things and do things with them and just live.
Yes.
Instead of worrying all the time about things.
Very good. Very good. So, and I can feel the emotions that are just trying to like stay down. Yes. Yeah. It's okay. And part of breaking cycles is to be willing to feel those emotions. And I'm just encouraging you, whether it's now or later, is to let the emotions come forward. Part of our egoic pattern process, right, to keep patterns in place, is to shove the emotions down, is to stay away from the pain. And so we'll get that. That's actually step 4 of the process, part of step 4. So here's what I love about your share is, number 1, we've got number 1 done, right? The awareness of the pattern, and you see it and you feel it, and you moved into part of what number 2 step is, which is acknowledge, right? So acknowledging why you have chosen to put this pattern in place is what's next. Part of unpacking the pattern and why you're still, you know, fighting with the pattern, like it's still present for you, is that there's a very high level of familiarity and predictability around it. You know how it feels, because you just said, I don't know what it feels like to do it easy. All I have examples of is what, you know, what not to do, basically. And so I call this, and I work a lot in my community on this, is that when we start to shift identities, and part of a pattern is an identity, like I said. So when we're shifting the identities, we first enter the void. We enter a space of the void, and we have to explore the void. And so you are going, it's almost like we will feel this, like, I don't feel like myself. I don't feel connected to, like, who am I now? Because I don't know who I've never been the person I'm trying to be. Right. So it makes perfect sense. And you're like, I don't know what it looks like. I've never done it. Correct. And we have to be brave enough, hence the name of my business. We have to be brave masters when it comes to shifting our identity and breaking patterns. In order to disrupt a pattern that has high momentum and it's just keeps on going, and you get so much evidence. You see it in your family, you see it in your siblings, you see it in yourself, you see it everywhere. Everything that we curate inside shows itself on the mirror of our life, right? Again, going back to it is a reflection of who we're being. So the second step is to acknowledge. So why do you believe that you have chosen this pattern for you? What is the lesson inside of it? Because it's a beautiful dance.
The lesson, well, I would like to remove this pattern and create something new.
Okay, so it's showing itself as something different, right? Meaning you're seeing something, a new way of doing things, right? So why do you think you've held on to it this long?
I've only just recently realized that that's a big pattern. So, and like you said, just like awareness of it first, right? So as I do my own self-work on different traumas and things, I notice things, you know, but I had to heal other traumas to get to this trauma. So
yeah, and so who have you been that likes to have this pattern?
I guess working hard gives me, it makes me feel valuable.
There you go.
It makes me feel appreciated sometimes, not all the time, but for the most part. It gives me some confidence. Like, if anything, I know I'm a hard worker. Like, it's part of my identity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's really good. I can relate. Yeah. It's so here's the beauty of that. See, when we acknowledge why it's there in place, and if you have something meaningful around it, the pattern will maintain, especially when it's tied to our value. If we receive value from it, when you don't have it anymore, then who are you? Right? That's going to be the question. And your ego is going to be like, that's not safe. Let's go back to the pattern, right? So unpacking the other pattern called I get value from working hard is actually more of the source of the results that you see out there in the experience of the pattern. Right? When you have a connection that deep that I'm not valuable otherwise, I promise you the pattern will remain. So another little identity shifting trick is to, and you can write this down, I call it the identity activation, is who am I without being valuable by working hard? Who am I without working hard, therefore valuable, right? So you can word it however you want, but it's like, who am I without blank? And put the pattern, put the whatever you want to call it right there in the blank. And then I want you to sit with that and feel the void. Feel the fear of the void itself, because the ego is going to be like, I don't know who that is. We're going to run for the hills. I don't know who that is. How am I even going to exist without value? If I don't have working hard, then who am I? I'm going to lose myself. And that is the scariest part. The fear of success, it's not even the fear of success. It's the fear of losing who you think you are. Therefore, maintain the pattern, please, and keep it in place. Very good. Okay, so again, we're just getting started. So what are you taking away from this part of it so far? What are you hearing for you?
I'm hearing to feel what it feels like to not have this thought, and maybe to recreate something new without it.
Yeah.
Like, how do I feel valuable in other ways other than working hard?
Sure.
And like replacing having to work hard to feel that value. I did something similar with religion. So I went away from a religion, and I was like, who am I if I'm not this anymore?
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, like I've been labeled that for 30 something years. What? Like, am I a Christian? Am I this? Am I that? And I was like, so I called my sister, called my brother. When you guys left the church, what did you do? You know, they're like, oh, no big deal. And I'm like, it is a big deal. Cause like, I don't know what box to check anymore. He's like, you don't have to check a box.
Yeah.
Like,
Spiritual.
so it's kind of similar. Like, who am I without having to work hard? So I gotta feel it, like you said, and then let it go, or create what that looks like without that limitation.
Yeah, very good. Good start. Good start. Okay. And then I heard something real quick to offer around looking for other ways that would make me feel valuable. Yes? Is that what you said? Okay. So I would just invite you that what if, just like try this on, like what if you are already 100% valuable and there's nothing outside of you to look for? Can you embody I am valuable, period? There's nothing I have to go do differently. I don't have to look for it anywhere. I don't need anyone to tell me. What if you believed I am valuable? Because it was your birthright. I feel you. Because if you look outside of you to go find something else to make you valuable, guess what you'll do? Install another pattern that you'll have to break. It's going to be another external pattern to help your ego keep you in your limitation and your belief that I'm not just valuable. I'm not enough just as I am. I don't have to work hard. I don't have to work easy. I don't have to be in a religion. I don't have to be outside of a religion. I don't have to be this. I don't have to be that. All of those things are out there. And so the moment we put ourselves in the trap of having to go look and find something else to fill the hole, we just created another pattern we'll have to break later when that one stops working, when that runs its course, versus embodying the presence and the now of who you already are. This is about peeling the onion back and getting to the light that you are. And notice how quickly our egoic self, our lens that we look through called the ego, so fast is like, let me go look for another pattern then. Let me go find something else that's going to make me valuable. Right? Notice how we look for, and this I'm speaking to all, it's like you go look for the next relationship. You end one and then you go look for another one to fill the void. Or you finish one business. Oh, that didn't work. I failed. Let me go fill another hole. Let me go think, like, make that the thing that's going to fix it. Right? And so when we can first return to the value that we are without anything outside of us, we then will move in a way in our life that is in alignment, that is guided instead of, I call it like freedom to choose just what is guided and moving us forward, and letting the divine intelligence that we are, the intelligent consciousness that we are, that we keep forgetting. Intentionally, we were set up as humans to forget it. I call it, our amnesia. We came into the world with amnesia, and that's how human experience works. And then the rest of my life, I spend working on healing the amnesia, right? Remembering who I am. And so when you actually return to this place that you're fully guided, it becomes really easy. See, we think we have to do something different to make it easy. Actually, we just need to stop doing so much that makes it hard. Right? It's like the action, and like we're going to continue to take action. We're human bodies. We're going to move and we're going to do things, the doing, but we've got to be really careful of the distinction between doing and coming from a place of ego, and doing coming from a place of essence. Very different experiences and very different intentions. So did that land for you? Like, can you let go of looking for value somewhere else? Let's just leave.
I'll have to work on it.
I gotta go work really hard on it, please. I
Well,
love
just
Leah.
the whole I have to start work. You brought up the theme that I've been dealing with, that I'm not good enough. So
Yeah.
I will work on putting that on my mirror. I am good enough.
Yeah.
Without any other things. So I'll work on that.
Very good. Thank you so much. Everybody give her some love in the chat, love on Facebook, wherever you are. Just like, thank you. This is so good. And I will never hesitate to say you are just a reflection. Remember, every one of us on here, you created me. I'm creating you. And every one of you has created the other person that's doing the work for you as a mirror reflection of an aspect of self. So there's never a moment where your share, vulnerability, transparency, and the heart of who you are. That's why I'm so open about what I go through, that it is not a mirror reflection of an aspect of someone else, because if I'm speaking to someone, they are creating me. And if someone like yourself, you are just reflecting an aspect of me. So we are all one consciousness. We're all part of the same ocean. Right? And so I just offer that too, is that you have done so much work for someone else in the space. And I thank you for that. I honor you for that. And I appreciate how brave you're being. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you. Thank you. Stay with me. More to come. More to come. Okay. Awesome. Gonna remove the pen. Fantastic. Okay, let me see what our chat is saying. I need to close out something here. I have all these things open. There we go. We've got Jenny making her cry. I've got some tears. Got it. That usually happens, by the way. So not alone in that. Work hard can be a religion. Yeah. Hello. And we are all mirrors to each other. Exactly. So thank you. Yes. And Leah, thanks you, Danielle. So a question is, how do you get yourself to believe you're good enough? I don't find a sign helps. Yes. Terry, question, are you willing to interchange with me? Will you come off mute? I would love to say hello.
Why not?
Why not?
Hello.
Hello,
See ya.
Terry. Oh, it's so good to see you. How many years? How many years has it been? Wow.
Oh, I hate to think. I don't like to think how many years.
I know.
Really,
It
so how
doesn't
many years it's
exist.
been since we've seen each other?
I know. It's like
Yeah, a
5
lot
years ago.
happened since then. It's been at least the 2015, 2016 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, right? But notice how time
Yeah,
doesn't exist, and we have crossed paths again. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So thank you. Very powerful question you're
So-
asking, though. How do you get yourself to believe you're good enough? Yeah, the Post-its don't really necessarily work. Now, I mean, they're great little signals, right? You know, because certainly part of our neuroplasticity is to reframe, right? Is like, how do we reframe, you know, what's going on in the brain? So much of I'm not good enough lives though in the body, right? So thinking I'm good enough without ever connecting to where it is in the body and the energetic field that is inside of the body is it's kind of like a circuit breaker. it doesn't connect, and then you don't actually, move it out. So is this one for you? Do you feel that I'm not good enough still present for you? Or
I was one of many. I mean, the lack of success, or not feeling successful, dealing with relationships, and there's nobody good out there, all that kind of stuff. So, so that's all swimming around there together.
tied together. Yeah. So nobody good out there. So we're looking for relationship. Is that what I'm hearing? That's one of your areas. You're working on relationship.
That's one of my areas. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even in that belief system called no one good out
Mhm.
there. So what are we implying in that moment? That they're not good enough. Yeah. So it maintains the pattern, like the pattern called I'm not good enough. How much evidence have you experienced in your life around that? Where does it come?
Lots. Well, I mean, like you, I'm divorced.
Yeah.
You know, I did well working for somebody else, made a good income there, but you know, doing my own business, I'm
Yeah.
caught up in that. I need to work harder and do more and, you know, making it, you have to work hard in order to be successful. So a lot of working on the business
Mhm.
or in it, instead of being, you know, doing what you need to be doing.
I don't even know what in
Um,
and on means anymore.
Well, I know
I think I hear it
if
both
you're working
ways.
on behind the scenes doing the technical stuff or whatever it is, and you're not actually out there talking to people who can become your clients.
Got it. Yeah.
So, because it's safer, you know, to stay and do all those things than it is to, you know, actually talk to somebody or
Yeah.
put yourself out there.
Yeah. Because I may
So,
not be good enough.
so
for
not, yeah, not good enough, exactly. So it's, so not feeling successful where it was all counting on me. Right?
Yes.
So if I'm working for somebody, doing a good enough job, and then they'll pay me, yeah, that steady income was there. But, you know, not having that, it's like, you can't do this on your own. You can't make this work on your own. You never made it work on your own, you
Mm,
know? So, I mean, I've had clients, but not enough that, you know, you can live comfortably, or you can, like Danielle was saying, go on trips or do things without worrying about money, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And I don't have to have $1 million to get to that point,
No,
but you know,
doesn't take
six
that much.
figures would be nice.
Yeah.
No, low six figures would be good enough, right? So, or even less, but still, so that's there. So it all feeds on that. And I'm like you, I'm divorced. I've been divorced now for a little over 10 years.
Mhm.
And I didn't have a relationship that worked, that was mutually, um, you know, satisfying, that was mutually, that built you up,
Right.
you know, where mine was all struggle.
Yeah.
So, you know, that carries over now, that relationships are, you know, trying to find something where where you're both comfortable with each other, and you know, it works, and you're both interested and involved and all that. That's just a foreign concept to me. I mean, I've seen others do it, but for me, it's a foreign concept.
Yes.
And so what I'll do is, I don't always say that there's not good guys out there. There are some good guys out there, but there's never a match,
Mm,
you know? So
not,
they might be interested in me and I'm not interested in them. I just can't, you know, you can't force passion. It's either there or it's not, you know, you can't force that. Or the other way around is, I might be really interested in them, but you know, they're not so. So it's that thing that goes on. So it feels like it's hard.
yeah.
So,
So I thank you for sharing all of that. There's a definite enmeshment of multiple patterns is what I'm hearing. And this is us complex humans, right? We have webs
mhm.
of things, and they tie together, and then they don't. This is what my point was at the beginning, is they don't look totally related, and yet what if they are, right? And so
Mhm.
I hear that I'm not good enough, and therefore then relationships and people don't show up to be good enough. So and passion is one thing, but being the person that's open to the relationship that you actually desire requires the internal resolve. Right. So what if that person that was in front of you may have been okay to, you know, like may have worked, the one you got interested in, and yet because there was something blocked inside of you, then that doesn't, because the pattern has to get maintained. Until we break a pattern, the ego's like, I'm going to maintain the pattern. It's very simplistic. It's very methodical, right? It's like, I have a pattern, you plugged in a pattern called I'm not good enough. Thank you. And I'm going to make sure that's what you get. And so notice I asked you, like, what's all the different things? And then you're listing a whole bunch of things that just feel like I'm not good enough for this. I'm not good enough for my business. I'm not good enough for the relationship. I'm not good enough. And so, yes, so the ego's like, done. Okay, gotcha. I'm going to handle that too. I'm going to make sure that relationship doesn't work. I'm going to make, right? And so when we can start to separate out from and step back and zoom out and go, that's not who I am. It's what my ego is choosing to do. And I call the ego a 5-year-old toddler. Like, isn't it great that we have a 5-year-old toddler running our show? Right? The 5-year-old toddler is like, it's super elementary, go figure, kindergarten, and it is running our life. Because it can't believe, it's like, it's possible for someone else, but not me. Nope, I got to keep the pattern going. And so it's and so when we zoom out and we realize our infinite divine consciousness, our all things, is sitting back waiting for you to just set down the ego, right? And you meaning all of us, like all our egos are just like playing on the playground, and it's like, I'm having a fun time. Look at this, I'm so powerful. Look how powerful you are. Look how powerful you are. You created so much evidence that you are, I am not good enough, or I have to work hard to win, right? For Danielle, like these patterns are so ingrained in just because there's momentum behind them. And so you showed up to the right game today, right? We're playing a new game. We're here to break the cycle. And part of breaking it, one, is the awareness. So you got aware of it, right? I spy the pattern. The pattern is impacting your relationships, your money, your self-worth, right? Like your self concept is the better word. And then noticing the contrast in your life of what your higher self is saying. I desire love. I desire financial prosperity. I desire flow and ease. And then the egoic self is like, yeah, that's great, but we have this pattern we have to maintain. Because you're not
it's stopping that pattern. And isn't it interesting too, that others will see us totally differently than we see ourselves?
100%.
Because I know that people see me as confident. I know they see me as successful.
Yes.
I know that, yet we're over here going,
our internal dialogue. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like, what do they know?
Right. They don't know me at all. Right. Leah said, under of all your masks. Right. The mask.
Yeah.
So this is what's interesting. And we actually talked about this on my last masterclass, which you can totally have access to. It's out there, right? The free Desire Not Require masterclass is we must like desire what we want and then detach from the requirement of ever having it. And then part of having what we want, so in your case, I want the relationship, I want the financial prosperity and all of those things, which you 100% already have. You have it in your consciousness. It's already there, or you wouldn't see it. You wouldn't even be able to talk to me about it, right? Because notice how we speak of possibilities for ourselves only because we consciously can speak of them. So if we aren't conscious of it, then it's not there for us. There are 8 billion versions of one consciousness on the planet, aspects of all of us, 8 billion of them. And it's like, and then I see all the patterns that we all have. Like, it's just fascinating to go, and we're all human, and I see all of it overlap, like we're all living in some pattern of some sort, and everybody has the ego that likes to maintain it. And we gave it the job. We gave the ego the job. So when we look and see possibility, one, good news is when we have to be conscious of it first. Like, we have to bring it into our consciousness. So that's awesome. Then we have this lovely egoic 5-year-old toddler that likes to go, yeah, that's great, but that's, I don't relate to that. I don't know how to do that. I know how to, I know exactly how to be not good enough. I took that on, and now we got to. So notice how everyone else sees something opposite is because you are proving that you're good enough to the external world. Does that make sense? Like you do the things that then represent, I am confident, I'm successful, it looks like I am, looks like I am, looks like I am. And and so we're proving something so that we don't feel the pain of I am not good enough. The traumatic pain that occurred in our bodies when we took it on, usually before age 8, everything was installed, right? And so we install it and we don't release it, we keep continuing back to the pattern, and it maintains itself. So it's just like a computer program. You haven't installed the program, you have it plugged in, and that power and energy that is behind it, the momentum behind the energy of that pattern is plugged into the power grid, and you are the power. You are the power, and you've plugged in this power into the power. It's like a plug, like imagine a cord plugged into the wall, and how much electricity and energy is going to that pattern. Like, right. You know, like feel the energy. Yeah. And so then what's part of the process is, one, feeling through the feelings of what the pain was, because the pain is not real, but it is suppressed. Right? It is still inside of our power grid, as I call it. And so we want to unplug the power and remind ourselves it's not real. I am not good enough is not real. It is not the truth. It is, you made it up. Your 5-year-old made it up. And it's so interesting how we trust a 5-year-old, like the 5-year-old's all knowing, or the 4-year-old, or the whatever, right? It's like we made it up. That is not who we are at the core of our being. We are enough. We're love, joy, and abundance. We're everything. We are all it. And we're all complete as we are, yet we have covered it up and layered it up and masked and all of it. And so step 1 is to know what you desire, which you do. Number 2, again, this was on the last class, is number 2 is to believe it's possible for others. And you said it. You're like, I see it possible for everybody else. I see everybody else doing what I want to do and having what I want to have. And so you believe it's possible, yes? Scale of 1 to 10. Do you believe it's possible?
For others, like, possible for others, yeah.
Yeah, okay, very good. So the next switch is, do you believe it is 100% possible for you? And so on a scale of 1 to 10.
That's where
What would you, how would you quantify it right now?
On a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is low.
Yeah, 1's low.
1's low. It's going to be low. You know, it's going to be 2 or 3.
Okay, very good. All right, because if we can elevate that, we'll be going in the right direction.
Yeah.
So
yeah, right. So,
yeah.
I mean, it won't take much to elevate it from 1 or 2 or 2 or 3.
You're like, we just need 1 step up, right? No.
Yeah.
Notice how easily our egoic self can believe it's possible for everyone else. Remember what I said, everyone else, however, is an aspect of you. They aren't separate from you. But we live in a world of separation. I keep shaking. So then, yes, step 2 is like, we have to believe it for ourselves. And the only way to believe it for ourselves is to go to the source of the pain of that installed program called I am not good enough. I am not enough, whatever that is, and feel it, release it, dive deep into the energy that we installed and go, I made all of this up. I made it up. It's kind of like, can you just imagine, like, you're a character in a movie on the screen, and you created the screen. You created the movie, you created the script, you created it up, you made it up, you wrote it all out, and you're like, I am not good enough, we're gonna act like that. And then, oh, by the way, I'm full of scarcity, so I'm not gonna have any money, so I'm gonna put that pattern in, I'm gonna put that in the script. We make it all up, everything. And it's that simple. I got it. It may not feel easy right this moment, but it is simplistic, is that we make up all of it. We are the creators of 100% of our conscious life. And our consciousness, unconscious or conscious, is playing out the role that we created. And we installed it so long ago that we are unconscious a lot of times to what we installed. So that's like, welcome to the personal development world, right? Is to uncover it all.
Right.
And then uncover, discover,
Right.
and release it so that we can create newly. And so step 2 is the belief, and step 3 is knowing, right? But if you can't get the belief from a 2 to a 10, we'll never get to the knowing that I am. I am good enough. I am enough, period. Like, I am so much beyond that. I'm infinite. I am infinite enough, whatever that means, right? So step 3 is great, but we don't ever, that's the actual trick to belief system shifting, is knowing, in our, like, a knowing. It's kind of like, tell me something that you know it to be true.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. It's raining outside here. I mean,
Right.
I don't
It's
know.
raining. The sky's blue.
You know,
Right? We know.
yeah, the water coming down from the sky. I mean,
Yes.
it's raining.
Yes. And, or you could say, I know there's so much oxygen, there's abundance of oxygen, I don't even have to think about breathing. Like,
Right.
like,
Right.
the experience of that is a knowing. It's like so
Mhm.
trusting. There's not any delineation at all from that, right? So, I mean, could we make up scenarios where we can't breathe? Sure. But that's not
Yeah.
how we walk around life. We walk around life like we're
Mhm.
to breathe at all times. We know there's air
Mhm.
to breathe. So we have to know that we are, in fact, infinite intelligence, infinite abundance, and the knowing that we are enough. And all we did was make it up. We plugged in a script, a little program, put a command on it, and said, please run this pattern for the rest of my life. And it's like, yeah, it's like Windows 1.0, right? Like, we plugged it in so long ago, we haven't upgraded. We haven't upgraded, and ultimately,
Yeah.
we just want to unplug that sucker. And
Mhm.
so when you feel into it, and we are going to get to, like, then tomorrow we'll talk more about kind of the process of the emotional release, and ultimately, when you experience, it's experiential. It is not going to come from your mind. You're not going to think
Yeah.
yourself, and this is back to your point, and it's why the sign doesn't help. It's not just the mind. It's the belief
Mhm.
reinstalled, and there's 2 sides to belief. I believe it's possible for others because I'm conscious of it. And therefore, if I'm conscious of it, it gets reflected in other people showing up for me. Right? So it shows up for you because it is you. That's the beauty. It's not happening for other people only. But we are so separate in our egoic self that it looks separate. It looks like, oh, it's happening for them, but it's not happening for me. That's the egoic separation. That's the falsehood. So then, but if we're going to process through this and get outsmart our ego, we're going to look at someone else and say, yep, I believe they can do it, a 10. And then we got to remind ourselves who we are. Oh, they're us. They're me. They're an aspect of me. They're showing up for me. So just as much as the pattern shows up for you, just like I said, I got a text just now that just showed up as an aspect of my old pattern. I was like, oh, that was perfect. Right, as I'm on the call, and so I get to respond to that text from my old pattern self, or I get to respond from the other pattern, like the new self, the one that's clear on who I am and what I'm not. Right, so they are reflecting your script. It is the computer. We're in a simulation, and the computer is, I plugged in a program, I put in a command, I need to make sure that program plays out for the rest of my life, or however long, until I change the program, until I uninstall it, until I take back the power of that and remind myself how much I made up the whole thing. And it has served you. And that's why we move to the step 2 of acknowledgement. Why and how has it served you to be a pattern called I am not good enough? Can you see an answer for that? How has it served you? because we learn in the contrasts.
How has it served? Well, it's a protection in a way, right? I'm not good enough. So let's put it in the context of the business. I'm not making the calls I need to make, that would give me the work. So it's protecting me from the possible rejection, maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Very good.
That may not actually happen, but I mean, in my mind, it's protecting me from that potential failure.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, thank you. All right, great.
Mm-hmm.
This program that
Mm-hmm.
protects me so well. And then the beauty is you get to realize you made up the need for protection in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's such a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
dance. Like, wow. And so it's kind of like, which one came first, chicken or the egg? The need for protection.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
then I'm going to install a pattern called I'm not good enough. And then I'm going to practice protection. It's something I said yesterday on my collective call with my people. And I said, in order to have a problem, or in order to be like a problem solver, I have identified as a problem solver my whole life until I caught it. I caught this and I was like, ooh, I'm not going to say that anymore. Guess what? So if I'm a problem solver, because we think that's valuable, we think it's like, yay, like
It's not.
gold
It's
star.
not because I'm a problem solver.
Yeah, watch it. Watch this.
And
This
I
is
got
why.
paid for it. I paid for it. I was an engineer, so
Right. I remember.
this
Yes.
is really great.
You have to. So notice, okay, in order to be a doctor, what do you have to have?
Mm-hmm.
You have to have sick people.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
In order to be an engineer,
That's true.
you have to have something to engineer and fix and
Right.
architect
Mm-hmm.
and correct and
Mm-hmm.
design. So in order to be a problem solver, what do I have to have?
Problems.
Lots of problems. Lots of things
Mm-hmm.
come. I'm so good at it. And so in order to be not good enough, you have to have a lot of proof and opportunities to protect yourself. You see what I mean? In order to be protection,
Yeah.
like be a pattern of protection, an identity of I protect well, you have to have something that's unsafe and you have to have things that require protection. And so when we start to see like, I have all of these things that keep happening and they have so much momentum because they keep happening, right? Like somebody said, I think somebody said chaos. Well, if you're a fixer, right? If you're good at fixing things and you're good at, I don't know, managing drama, then what do you have to have? Like drama queens have to have drama.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So in order to maintain a pattern that you made up, it's not real. It is so made up. Like I want you to feel that. And I keep saying it because I want you to feel it. I made it all up. There's no truth to it. It was part of the script. And remember, our 7-year-old self is the one making up all the scripts. It's like, oh, this will be fun to play with. I'm going to be not good enough. I'm going to be a failure. I'm going to be, I'm rejected. I'm going to be abandoned. Like we made all of the stories up because circumstances don't have meaning. None of the circumstances, none of my parents' divorce at 8, none of the domestic violence I went through for 5 years as a child, none of it has meaning except the meaning I gave it. Trust me, how I look back at all of that now is a night and day difference. And I've acknowledged what I have put in place and why it's been there to serve me, to show me who and return me to who I actually am. Notice, like, if you are here, it is such an opportunity. If you are looking to be a cycle breaker, you are returning to the source of who you are, which is all infinite being. You are not your ego. But your ego is in the driver's seat. You can pick up the phone call and make the call or just show up on a masterclass and give it away. This isn't about me, trying to make anybody do anything. I am here to just spread the word that we can return to our better self, our true self, and not cover it up with patterns and ego. Right. And so, it's not about being afraid of the rejection or somebody's not going to like what I said. It's okay if it doesn't resonate with everybody. It's okay. Everything I say is an invitation. So go invite people to your party, right? Like in your business, go invite people to the party. And if they don't want to come, love them anyway. But what if they do want to come and you didn't put the invitation out?
Right.
I'm going to invite you to be in a bigger container because there's a party you can be a part of. But if you don't want to come to the party, it's really okay. There's a lot of parties out there. Like maybe you don't want to be in this party. It's totally cool. You know what I'm saying? But it's not, there's no pressure around it, especially coming from my ego that needs to avoid being rejected, or my ego that needs to like worry about what other people think of me because I invited them. You see what I mean? It's all in how we perceive who we've been and what pattern we have maintained. So have by any chance, have I shifted the number? Can you believe in yourself to be good enough? And 1, maybe a 4, I don't know.
Maybe it's a 4. I need to sit with it, like
Absolutely.
you said.
Absolutely.
And feel it and let it, I'm familiar with the peace process and all that, so I need to sit with it and
Yes.
allow it to go away. So that I can then take on the true persona, the abundance and the potential that, like you said, we all have.
Yes.
We're all full of potential.
100%. Excellent. And I agree with you.
Okay.
And we're going to do more of that tomorrow. Hopefully you can join us again or see it again and share with us if you shifted your number, right? Being in that process. And it really is, it's an embodiment. And it's, remember, like what I just shared with Danielle, is that there's a void. You don't know who you are without I'm not good enough pattern. Yes?
No, I would say that's very true. And there's the other side of it too, that there's also that piece that says, okay, so I work on it, or I take it on, the new way of thinking, and will it last? So I imagine it's a process where you may have to, maybe you spiral up.
Yes.
So that, or it's a stair step, maybe. You might go several steps and then realize, oops, there's still some there. So I need to, do some more on that.
Yes.
Until you get to the point where you've totally rewritten the old program. And now the new program is operating.
Yes. Yes, we are. We're gonna talk about how to, like, the process of somewhat of the embodiment of the pattern and of the new pattern. Like we're going to plug in a new pattern, right? We're going to plug in a new identity without the old pattern. And so, yes, the exploring the void process is a surrender. It is like, can you be in the middle? Can you be without knowing how to do it and what it looks like? And the point you're making is really great, because our egoic self is very intelligent. Our egoic self, we've trained it well. We keep plugging in, little upgrades and patches to the program. And the ego is like, oh, see, but what if it comes back? That was an ego moment, right? That was
I realize it. There's that fear there. It's still part of that. I'm not good enough, right? That'll come back.
Right, it's still there.
It's going to come back, right?
Yeah, it's not good. I'm not good enough. It has to come back. Oh, it's so good, because the nuances are what's fun to identify as well. Like, look at the little tiny nuances of how quickly the ego still wants to protect you. It still wants to keep, because here's the death. And here's the death. That's what I was about to say. The ego death. Here's the point. The ego death that happens when the pattern is released is a thing, right? And so the ego has to die off. It's like, and so what does it do? It fights for its limitation. It fights for its survival. And so our ego is
Right,
not something
right.
we want to get rid of, but it is something we want to outsmart, and we want to embrace, and we want to love, and we want to say, thank you, and I don't need you so much anymore. I don't need you so much. You know, this was something I needed as a young child and a young adult, because I came into this life as a human complete with amnesia. So you came in, my ego, to protect me from what I don't know and what I can't remember. That is why the ego is here. It is here to
Right.
protect us from the amnesia that we forgot who we were. And so now, as adults, we keep using the egoic self because we don't realize who we are fully. And now we're like peeling back the layers and going, okay, ego, you can sit in the trunk. You don't even have to get out of the seat, go in the trunk, but get out of the driver's seat and let me drive where I'm going next, right? And I'll also speak to this really quickly is because you called it like the stair steps, and so for me, I call it the elevator of ascension. So as we are raising our timelines and our realities, and we can shift timelines very quickly when we realize that time construct is linear. But what's true is non-linear self, which is who I'm speaking of. The higher self is non-linear, and the ego likes to keep things linear, is that we actually can shift timelines very quickly simply by intention. So you have a reality already that exists in the now that is I'm good enough. I'm enough. I am, right? I am. You already have that reality. But right now you're on elevator, 5, elevator level 5. You're walking linearly.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Easy for you to say. Yeah.
Easy for me to say. And you're walking along on this 5th floor, and your ego is like, how dare you try to get on the elevator and go to level 6? Like, and so just imagine, like, the ego is like putting the hands on the elevator. You're on the elevator. You're like, I'm ready. This is the void, right? Being on the elevator is where the void lives, because it's like, I don't know what level 6 looks like. I haven't been there. And so then you're on level 5. It looks very familiar. And then the ego's like, holding the doors open. Don't leave. I'm going to die if you leave. That is literally the energy of it. I'm going to die if you leave level 5. And like, I have to be brave enough to step on the elevator and go up to level 6. And guess what? As soon as you open the door, the ego's like, hey, I'm still here. I haven't left. I just came with you. But hopefully, right, as we ascend, we get the ego doesn't show up so much, right? That's my goal.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree with you. So
yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for playing with me here.
Thank you. Yeah. And I do have to leave a little bit before the end of the class because I've got another appointment on the hour. So
Perfect.
just so you know, if I jump off, that's why.
Thank you. Yeah, no problem. I hope to see you tomorrow, or you can finish. You'll watch.
I plan to be here tomorrow.
Yeah, you can.
I plan to be here tomorrow.
Okay. Yay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate you.
Sure.
Yeah. Very, very good. Right? Give some love to Terry. She did a lot of work for you. Right? Yes. Danielle's sharing hearts. Heart. So I love how interconnected all of this is right now, right? And how when we become aware of our pattern, when we become aware of the belief level, right? How much do I believe in this pattern, and how much do I believe in myself without it, right? And so all of these different concepts kind of tie together as we start to practice a new level of ascension and a reality that we're trying to accomplish. And so it's just and the thing that we all have to remember is to give ourselves grace and patience and love, and it's like, even the ego, even though the ego looks like it's it's like, man, you're just doing so much work to keep me playing small, and and it's like, yeah, but that's my job, because what if you don't remember who you are and I've got to make sure that you're safe, right? So if we come into this world with the amnesia, forgetting all of the beautiful, pure consciousness that we are and the completeness that we are, the wholeness. And so, you know, but that's what this human experience, this human game is all about. I keep hitting my desk. I'm sorry, like my laptop moves and I'm getting so passionate. And so we come into this world and we gave the ego a job to say, oh, I need to protect her because she doesn't know how to operate in this world as the complete being that she is. So I'm going to take over. I'm going to make sure she's okay. And then we have all these external influences from aspects of ourself. Remember, people in our lives are simply reflections of who we are or who we're not, and who we, you know, in different aspects to experience or examine or what have you. And so they're beautiful. It's like dance partners in this dance that we are in. And so if we came to this earth experience, right, this 3D experience to understand how to return to self and how to unpack all of the beautiful things that we get to create, all of the struggle, all of the chaos, all of the problems, so that you can be a great problem solver, all of the, you know, all of the experiences that we have. And yes, are there things that trust me, I've had my own where it's like, I didn't really ask for that specific circumstance to happen in my life, but certainly I'm still here and I can look back at that circumstance and say, thank you. And not be the victim of those hardships and those turbulent moments and those fearful, like sometimes life and death moments, scary as hell moments. But I can say, I'm still here and I have something to learn and live from because of it. And so when we get aware of our patterns, and then we get aware and acknowledge the reasons things are in our life and the powerful creator that we are of the pattern itself, then we start to see why the circumstances continue to show up for our pattern continuation. Like we maintain the pattern. So very good. So I saw a couple questions in here I want to make sure I return. And if you've got questions, put them in here. That would be great. And let me find it. Danielle says, I made it all up. I love that. Yeah. Yes, we did. We made it all up. Okay, so how do you move past a void without filling it with another pattern? Yes, very good question. Really good question. Yeah, so I call it explore the void, right? So we're exploring the void. We're allowing the void to exist. And it's only our egoic self that says that is really scary, when in fact, it can be one of the most liberating experiences. And it's kind of what I'm doing now. And it's like, you know, I'm doing it with my environment, right? Exploring the void, like showing up in a new location, a new environment. Like we are conditioned, our egos love familiarity and predictability. So for us to like, you know, it's like I had a house in Houston and, you know, lived there for 13 years. And trust me, when I decided to move to California after 20 years of living in Houston, you know, my nervous system had to go through a recalibration. And it had to get okay with the new environment. And so part of the void is you're calibrating your nervous system. So there's a physical element, there's a conscious element of let go and surrender and trust. And there's a mind element, right, of like intentionally choosing your perspectives. And then, like I said, the nervous system is needing to be calibrated. So when you can be comfortable in your nervous system, which is part of the void, then you're not going to go immediately try to find something to fill it. But if you're trying to make that nervous system feel safe again really fast, it'll go fill it. It'll be like, let me find something. Let me find the fix. It's like, I got to go get a drug, right? Like, let me do something. So the pattern becomes the drug, right? Like, let me cover it up. And so when we can get really okay, our nervous system is just a response system. It's just responding. And when we chronically, which patterns are chronic, When we're chronically in a particular state in our bodies around a particular pattern, it's like, Terry, I'm like, guess how comfortable your nervous system, even though it may go into sympathetic mode and fight or flight or freeze around I'm not good enough. It knows that experience though. Your nervous system's like, but I know what to do. I'm going to flood your system with cortisol. I'm going to flood your system with adrenaline when it's needed. I'm going to like turn you on, and like, you're going to have to take some action and, go into beast mode and run your business as hard as you can. And, right. So the nervous system knows what to do when it needs to, but we've trained it to do so. And so if we can be in the void, not only from a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual space, like be aware of all of those 4 buckets, right? And relational, like there's all these energy buckets. And if we feel inadequate or not recharged or not filled up, right? Fill the gas tank, then we're going to try to fill it with something. We're going to try to make something happen, or put in a new pattern, or it may look like we've got rid of the old pattern, but sure enough, we've actually filled it with a new one or the same one, excuse me. So does that make sense, Danielle? I was like, who asked that question? Does that help? Unmute. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I see you. Yeah. Yeah, so the first step is more in that. It's not a go do, right? It's not a go like, let me find something to fill it, because it's the same point that was made about I need to go find something outside of me to make me feel valuable. So being in the void is actually the best experience of surrender and allowance and let go, and let me trust that everything will come to me as I require or need something, right? Like I don't need to go create another circumstance to prove anything, to prove that I'm valuable, to prove that I work hard, and here's the beauty. When we start exploring, when we start like cycle breaking, right? And when I heard this title, it was in this moment of awareness, is like, man, I am breaking so many cycles, and I'm like, well, there's a lot of cycle breakers out there. Like, we're breaking generational cycles and patterns in ourselves by being extremely intentional and conscious and present and doing the work and going inward and all of those things. And yet, and it's like, I want to celebrate that just as much as I want to expand, the how, right? Like, how do I continue to break more cycles? What do I get to experience in order to do so, right? So very powerful question, and the explore the void part of the process is, I think, one of the most pivotal moments, because our nature of our ego is to go fill it with something else, because it is literally the holding on to the elevator doors going, don't leave me. And what if the safest thing we could do is to like tell the ego to stay on the floor. I'm going to go up a floor. I don't need you to come with me. I don't need this version of you to come with me. And I'll tell you this, as a beautiful warning, is that as we elevate, as we start to truly dive into the void, and then move to the next level of our identity and our ascension, etc., is that, again, people that are hanging out with us on level 5 may not come with us. And to the ego, that's extremely scary. They may look at us weird. They may be like, where are you going? Why are you doing it that way? You need to do it my way. You need to work hard. You need to go make money. You need to like go get a job. You need to, I mean, what the people are going to like, it's almost like the reflection's going to probably get a little louder. If that makes sense, right? Like it's almost like they're going to come towards you, and you're going to be standing on the elevator in the void going, okay, I'm moving, I'm shifting, I'm going to go off to the island by myself. I think I'm by myself, which you're not. You're just going to go to the next floor, and there's going to be a whole nother level of people. There's going to be this whole nother community of people that are ascending with you. Like you're on level 5 right now. On level 6, guess what? There's a whole bunch of other people on level 6 that relate to you and see you and understand you and connect with you. And I love like Terry, thank you so much for coming back into my space. It's almost like I've been going up the elevator, and Terry and I met when I was down on level 5. I don't know, I'm making the numbers up, and now I'm at level 10, and here's Terry again. Yay! You know what I mean? That's how the feeling is when people come in and out of my life, like this ebb and flow and these waves. And so we have to get our nervous system and our, process of like allowing for people to exit, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing bad about people moving away from us and then they come back, or they may never come back, but we're also still okay. We're still okay. We're still safe. We're still evolving. And I love all of the people that have ever crossed my path, and I honor where we were, and I honor what we accomplished together, or conversations we had, or the arguments we had. I mean, like, who knows, right? But because they all served a purpose to my evolution. And so if we're elevating, sometimes we're like, okay, I'm going to the next floor, and I feel like I'm going to lose all these people that are not going to relate to my new identity. Like Danielle was such an example. It's like she has so many people in her family, literally right in her space, that are doing it one way. And she's like, I'm going to do it the entire opposite. And what does that mean to the ego? Is like, what if they all leave? What if they get mad at me and leave and and hate on me because I'm doing it different? Right? I mean, there's been people that have disagreed with my moves or my, what I'm doing, where I'm going. And see, we have to be our own beacon of light. We have to be in our own lane and know and trust that the people that are meant to be with us in that season of our life, to serve us, to help us, to be an aspect of us, is on purpose. It's like, it's all perfection. And we can love people where they are, and just, and continue to ascend and allow people to experience their discomfort when possibly we say, no, thank you, or thanks for offering that way of doing something, but I'm just not going to do that anymore, or I'm not going to show up to that party the way that you expect me to, or I'm not coming to the holidays because you feel like I should. I mean, like, whatever it is, like when we start to shift and we start to do our own way, and we start to be our own person, and we start to be aligned with our own guidance, it may make other people react. Because why? Their egos will get activated. They will not understand. And we have to be, it's not about reacting back to them with ego. It's not about making them wrong about how they feel or how they're reacting. And it's okay to say, I'm disengaging from that, and I'm going to step away, or I'm going in this direction, I'm doing this. And then you can come back together. And sometimes it's like the space and distance, shifts the relationship, because you become something else. And then the reflection of them changes. The reflection will change. And this is the whole concept of who you're being is what you're seeing. So if you're being something else, your relationship will shift. And I think a lot of times when we're in relationships, especially marriages or significant others or familial relationships, it's really hard to unravel, because a part of us doesn't want to lose the relationship, or we don't want it to change, because again, the ego is really used to it. Our nervous system is used to how it is, even if it's dysfunctional, even if it's toxic, even if it's not working. I mean, it's like our patterns want to be maintained. And when we get clear enough, sometimes if we just change who we're being, the relationship evolves, and then we come back together, we stay together, we grow together, we expand together, and that person reflects differently. And great, we keep moving, or the contract completes. And that's why I feel so happy and being able to honor the relationship that I had, and all the relationships I've had in the past. I mean, right, but certainly my marriage of 22 years is, I can honor what it was, and that it's okay that it's complete, and we can continue to have a different type of relationship. Now we're friends. It's like, you know, it just shifted. We can be co-parents. Who you are being is what you are seeing. Yes, that's it. Leah, thank you. Okay. As we close out here, thank you so much for being here this entire transmission that's occurred. And thank you for just hearing whatever is reflected for you. Make notes, embody, kind of like Terry said, I need to feel this. Yes. Yes. If you're activated in some way, good or bad, or like, ooh, this is making me feel something great. Let it be absorbed, and let the nervous system, realize how safe you are, and that it's really okay to be where you are. And then we're going to return tomorrow to move through the 3 extra steps of the pattern shift formula, as I call it. And so before we exit, I would love to know, and someone, you can open up or you can just type it in the chat. What is your biggest aha or takeaway from today? And I have to figure out how to stop shaking my computer. So please, yeah, share, type. If you're on Facebook, put it in the comments. If you watch the replay, email me. I'd love to know the takeaway. I'm going to check our Facebook friends. Feel the void, don't fill the void. Ooh, well put together. Feel the void, don't fill the void. Oh, that's beautiful. I like it. That is a powerful, powerful takeaway. Yeah, pattern shifting it has to come with the void before we fill it with something else. But otherwise, we break the patterns. We have patterns that serve us, yes, and that's okay. But more importantly, if we can live into the now, and if we can live into the void, or the allowance of just life to unfold, and it just is such a beautiful place. And I am definitely living that example right now. Way less planning, way less future tripping, and way more present. It's like, what would feel good today? What would feel expansive today? What do I want to do? And then when people send me invitations to do things, and I just decide, does that feel expansive, or does it feel contraction? Right. And that's another way to actually start to follow your own guidance while you're navigating the void. Is it expansive, or is it a contraction? And just own that, right? And follow the expansion without hesitation, right? Like, just follow it. Let's see, I made it all up. It's a script my 5-year-old self wrote. Yes. Oh, the books we could write with the script of our 5-year-old, right? Like, how cool is that? And there is a whole new group of friends on the next floor. Right? As we elevate through the levels of ascension, our evolution of ascension, right? And our elevator, as I call it. Yeah, there's new friends, new community. There's plenty of us on each floor, and we get to actually attract those into our experience. So yeah, very cool. Okay, my friends, I'm closing out a couple minutes early. If you overnight and throughout the day, as you are alchemizing this information, as you're alchemizing and embodying what you've heard and what you've received, and feeling through any activations, I will warn you, there may be some, you might feel numb. You might feel reactive. Your ego may be like, that's BS. I can't have it. That's not okay. You know, like it may go into ego tricks, or it may feel like this, like exciting. I mean, so wherever you are, whatever you feel, just allow it. Let it be part of your process of moving into this new perspective and our new floor of ascension as we're going through this journey together. And write down any insights or questions in your notebook, right? And bring those to the call tomorrow, if you would, and share, right? Like be willing to share, like what is, because it's not just in this moment. This is just the activation, and then we get to watch it unfold, and we get to experience whatever you need to experience. If you want to cry, cry. If you want to go like run a mile, go run a mile. But if you know, whatever the feeling is, it's okay, right? It's perfect expression that needs to occur in order for you to start to break the cycles. So I love you all. Thank you so, so much for being here and being with me today. Like, this has been amazing. Thank you for those that transparently shared and did the work for all of us and dove into you know, your circumstances a little deeper. And then we will return, same place, same link, and I will be sending out if you're on the email list, and if you haven't signed up for the email yet, you can still do that, and then you'll get some of the insider benefits of that, and we'll email everything out here today, and then you can rewatch anything that you want to rewatch, and then we'll be back tomorrow. So I love you all. Thank you very much, and we'll see each other soon. Stay brave, and I'll see you tomorrow. Yes, heart. Love you. Thank you.